Hi guys, my name is Brian Wince, owner of UB Fits. Today we're going to be going over how to program your exercise routine, not just short term, not just for like the month, but year round, and where you should start off and how you should progress. So if we look over here, I already brought up the chart, sorry for my handwriting in advance. At the very bottom, we have what's called stabilization. Really, that's just a fancy word of saying balance. It's another way to look at it. We have endurance, which is strength endurance. That's going to be your higher reps. It's going to be able to add a little bit more stability with load. We have hypertrophy, which is cross-sectional growth or size, gains, what almost every guy wants, so on and so forth. Then we have strength, or more specifically maximal strength. That's going to be your power lifters, like your increase in weight in your deadlift, your squats, your bench. And then we have at the top is power, and that's going to be more explosive exercises like jump squats, like Olympic lifts, so on and so forth. So I always like to give the example of this is basically your template for your house. Your body is your house. At the very bottom, civilization, we have your pipes, your wires, so on and so forth. Endurance are going to be more like your posts and your drywall. Then we get up here, these are going to be all your fancier utilities like your stainless steel fridge, stainless steel oven, your granite countertops, so on and so forth. So what that means is we have to set our foundations first before we can add the nice stuff. Otherwise, we're just going to have our body collapse, we're going to get injured a whole lot, so on and so forth. And just like with a house, you don't just do the foundations and never come back. At a certain point, wallpaper starts tearing off, you're going to go back to endurance. At a certain point, your pipes need to be fixed or cleaned, you're going to need to go back to stabilization. So never feel like once you progress upwards that you get to stay where you want to stay. You always want to be able to cycle through it, but in the end, let's say if you want to have maximal strength, you want to be a power lifter, you're going to spend most of your time there. And vice versa, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you just want to add a lot of size, you spend most of your time in hypertrophy. When you want to just have like a general fitness, you just want to be generally healthy. Now, I've seen debates on cycle through all of these. I've seen debates on cycle through just stabilization, endurance, and power. Now, ideally, when I talk about just general health, we would probably cycle through all of them, and we'd spend most of the time within these two categories, spending the least amount of time with all three of these. And then what you do as an individual, decide which one of these do you like most training-wise. Because in the end, that's going to be able to keep you going with your routine. So if you find that you like maximal strength more than power or hypertrophy training, then you still cycle through all of them for general health, and then you spend more time within these two, stabilization, endurance, and then strength categories. Let's say you're trying to gain a lot of size, right? You spend a lot of time here. What a lot of people don't realize is we also want to spend some time with maximal strength, because with maximal strength, we increase our force output. And with force output, then hey, now we can increase our loads within hypertrophy. And what else people don't think is endurance is really great for making sure that we increase our volume with all these other exercises. If you notice over hypertrophy, strength, and power, we have higher set ranges. So that means higher volumes. Well, if our endurance is weak, whether it's with cardio training or with resistance endurance, so strength endurance, then we're not going to be able to do and keep up with those higher sets. So we want to make sure that we do endurance training so that we don't get as tired, don't get as fatigued, so on and so forth. One thing I want to really emphasize on is stabilization. I never see people doing stabilization training in the gym. People don't know really what it's about. The most I see people do are core training or really ab training, and maybe going on a Bosu ball every once in a while. But stabilization is a lot more complex than that. It's not going to be something where you just do a couple exercises and hey, that's all you need to do. It's not just doing planks. It's not just doing squats in a Bosu ball. Civilization, be as creative as you can. Let's say even just going on one leg, tossing the ball against the wall, playing catch with someone, single leg RDLs. We could do even push-ups on the Bosu ball. We could do isometric exercises like a plank, so on and so forth. You have to be very creative with your stabilization training to be able to make sure that you're hitting everything you want to do. Make sure you add instability with all the joints, not just one joint, so on and so forth. Because that is your whole foundation. If you don't do your stabilization, that's where you start seeing your injuries come from, or your lack of form come from. Let's say with shoulder injuries, a lot of guys tend to get shoulder impingements, very common, and a lot of that's due to instability in the shoulder joints, or even instability in the scapulothoracic joint, which is the joint between the scapula, your shoulder blade, and your thoracic spine or your upper back spine. So when you have instability there, well, now we start to contract, and that protraction then leads into shoulder impingement and other issues. And same thing with the hips. If you don't have stability in the hips, the knees, the ankles, well, all that can lead up. Let's say you do hip stability specific exercises, which already is kind of hard to do, but people let's say they lay on the floor and then they kick their leg up, or they go on the other side and work on their adductors. Whatever the case may be, if they only really focus on one, well, now if you forget your ankle, well, now that leads just back up to your hips, to your knees, so on and so forth. So make sure you're able to get all of them. So I want to talk about now the reps and the sets, why those are there, and then different aptitudes of them or different ideologies of them. Essentially, stabilization and endurance, we have about 12 to 20 reps. I've seen different, so we have stabilization, which is strictly just balance, really controlled movements. Stabilization endurance, which would be like your Bosu ball squats, your Bosu ball push-ups. The stabilization would be more like your planks, and so on and so forth, more isometric exercises, isometric meaning no joint movements, so on and so forth. Now when you have stabilization, usually it's either on a second base count. I've seen 30 to 90 seconds, I've seen 60 seconds to a minute to 3 minutes. Essentially just try to add more challenging exercises, or make the exercise more challenging or more unstable so that you don't need to spend as much time on it. Or I'll see like 1 to 2 reps with it. Now, stabilization endurance, again, I've seen higher reps, but if we add more instability, then we could do a lower rep range as well. Those exercises, we don't need to do that many sets. It would just be about 1 to 3 sets. Usually I've seen just 1 or 2 sets. And how you implement that into your program, all right, you do it, then you move on. But a good thing to do is have this be your warm-up for once you're doing in these other categories. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time with it, just spend about 10, 15 minutes on stabilization just to make sure that your muscles are stable, your joints are stable. With endurance exercises, we look at higher reps. Now I've seen 12 to 15, I've seen 15 to 20, essentially as many reps as you can do. The problem with all these up is you really want to work towards fatigue. So this says 12 to 20, this says 6 to 12, this says 1 to 5, this says 1 to 10. Now, the only time that we might see this be an issue is if you put yourself at risk, but we want to work towards fatigue. If we get to 15, all right, if you're following the 12-15 program and we get to 15 reps, but you can do a few more, we'll do a few more. And if you're aiming to do less reps, well, increase the weight, right? And if you can't increase the weight, let's say you're doing body weight, well, make that exercise more challenging or incorporate a weight somehow. Now with these, you want to look at tempo as well. So the tempo with endurance is going to be a 4-2-1. What that means is, eccentrically, we're going to be doing the motion for 4 seconds. Concentrically, we're going to be doing the exercise for 2 seconds, and a 1 second hold either at the top or bottom. Now, eccentric would be the lengthening of the muscle. As an example, let's say I'm doing a bicep curl. As I'm curling up, that's concentric. My bicep's shortening, so that's a concentric contraction. Eccentric would be the going down, the lengthening. All right, so we want to do 1, 2, hold for 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the thing. With the bicep curl, we more than likely don't want to hold for a second at the bottom. As soon as we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want to hold the bottom because then we don't have that much tension still on the muscle. It's still good to go all the way down. Well, I see all the time people just going, all right, right there. And then they end up having arms like this, or when they deadlift heavy weights and they're doing that alternate grip, well now they put a lot of strain on that bottom portion of the bicep. They never work out, you get bicep tears. So a 4-2-1 tempo. With hypertrophy, you're looking more like a 2-1-2 tempo. So yet again, let's say with bicep curls, we're going within a 6 to 12 rep range, it'd be 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. With something like a lat pull down in really any position, we have this scapular retraction and adduction. So we want to make sure, all right, well, our lats are always engaged, right? So if we're doing a seated row, you could hold for a second here, and then 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, so on and so forth. So think of those second contractions, those 1 second contractions with both of these as, am I having tension? And if you're having tension, then we want to hold that position. If we lose tension, then we don't want to hold that position. When you're doing skull crushers and lay down the bench for your triceps, this portion is a lockout. We don't really want to hold that lockout. Already, if we're doing hypertrophy, well, now we have a lot of load pressing down, so we shouldn't be in this position in the first place. But let's say you are for endurance or whatnot, then since we're locked out, don't hold that bottom position or that top position, but instead hold that bottom position at the stretch portion. So, strength and power, we're looking at being as explosive as possible. So people think strength, doing a deadlift, doing a bench, doing a squat. When we're doing heavy weights for 1 to 5 reps, that's 1 to 5 reps, so you're doing sub-maximal effort. And what that means is you're doing almost close to your max amounts. Now, since you're doing that, so you're doing such a heavy load relative to your strength, then we're not going to really see you going too fast. But relative to that weight, we're going as fast as we can. So you're trying to be explosive, but you're just not moving that fast. While with power, we're being as explosive as we can. Now, even within power, we have like a power endurance or a power maximal strength. When we look at that maximum force output for power, you're gonna see more like your Olympic lifts, like a snatch, like a clean and jerk. So that, in that sense, you're probably gonna be looking more like a 1 to 5 rep range instead of this 1 to 10. Yet again, sticking within that strength rep range. Yet again, still being very explosive. You're not going to have an eccentric portion when we're doing Olympic lifts, just because if you do it eccentrically, you're gonna hurt yourself. When you snatch up overhead, well, you're not gonna gently put it down because you're gonna put yourself at risk. You're actually gonna drop it. So, on the other end, for power endurance, let's look at plyometric exercises like jump squats, clap push-ups, so on and so forth. Those, be as explosive as possible. When I see people doing plyometric exercises, I see them barely coming off the ground just because they know I'm going to just do a few, I want to try to do a lot of reps. Well, try to jump as high as you can, right? Try to hit your head to the ceiling so you get maximal effort, maximum explosiveness, so that we can try to stay within this 1 to 10 rep range. And if we're doing jump squats, and yet again, if we get to 10, but we're like, I can still push out some more, if I'm not really fatigued yet, all right, push out some more, and maybe add a weight. Now, a lot of times when you add a weight, that might be too challenging, and that's fine. You don't have to be to complete fatigue, complete failure, but you have to be working towards that point. You have to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do that. It's really easy to understand when you're doing, let's say, an upper body plyometric exercise like clap push-ups, because then you notice, hey, my face is getting really close to the floor now, maybe I should stop before I hurt myself. Well, jump squats, if you can't, or if you're getting too fatigued, well, you're just not going to jump as high. So that's something to keep in mind. Am I able to jump as high as I did the first rep? And if not, how much of a difference is it? and you should have a basic idea of how long you're in the air for, or how high you feel like you're getting if you're looking at something on the wall, so on and so forth. So that covers our programming. Yet again, just want to go back, reiterate, start at the stabilization, spend a lot of time here. You're probably looking at about 1 to 4 weeks, and about everything is going to be about 1 to 4 weeks, just depending on how much you want to focus on it, and progress your way up. And if you want me to go into more detail on any specific category, giving you some examples of exercises, just leave that in the comments section down below. Alright guys, this was Brian Wince, owner of UB Fit. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, make sure to leave that in the comments section down below. If you liked the video, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the like button for future content coming out soon. If you want to see my own personal workouts or workouts of my clients, make sure to follow me on Instagram in the description box down below. I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed this video.